Welcome to the Performing Arts Series brought to you by the Kennedy Center and the Prince William Network. I'm Noriko Okabe, your tour guide for the Kennedy Center's festival, Japan, Culture and Hyperculture. During today's program, Hakata Kinjishi Taiko and Hakata Koma, we will explore one of the ancient instruments of Japan, taiko drums, and the art form of top-spinning. You will see performances by Hakata Kinjishi Taiko, led by brother and sister, Jyuraku and Syouraku Chikushi, and a traditional Hakata top-spinning act by Hakata Koma, led by the head of the family, Jyuraku Chikushi. But before we get started, I want to remind you that today's program was previously recorded, and although you won't be able to call in during the program, we would like to invite you to send in your questions by emailing us. We look forward to hearing from you. Hakata Kinjishi, or Golden Lion Taiko, is a group that performs a style of drumming which is derived from the music used from the lion dance and traditional Hakata Top-spinning act. The drumming became independent from the two acts, and the Golden Lion Taiko group was established. Jyuraku Chikushi is the leader of Hakata Kinjishi Taiko and his sister, Syouraku. Although the two acts were separate from each other, they came together to play specifically for the Japan Festival. Let's meet this talented family.
Jyuraku-san is Master Syouraku's son.
Yes.
This type of art must be passed down through the generations.
No, but that is the case for top-spinning.
Well, I guess it is among other arts, such as kabuki.
So, Jyuraku-san started by spinning tops. You started with that?
Right. Just like my mother, I started spinning tops at the age of 3. Before standing on stage or studying spinning tops, I learned taiko drum, then used to play it behind spinning tops players.
So that's how you started playing taiko drum?
Yes, I started to play tops at the age of 3 and stood on stage. Finally began to learn such acrobatics at the age of 10. At the same time, I had a strong interest in taiko drums, which were being played behind spinning tops players, and then I refined it to be the style it is today.
Master, did you teach him drums when he first started on them?
Yes. In fact, his current drumming style adopted the benefits of contemporary drums. As for spinning tops, turns, we have a musical accompaniment consisting of shamisen, taiko drum, and a whistle. The beat, which is called gezabayashi, and goes something like this. Tum 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 tum
Sitting on
tum.
your knees in a seiza
Yes.
style?
Our disciples inherited it. From that, he created this Golden Lion drum style.
And has the master been influenced by your son?
After all, people say Japanese classics should maintain the integrity of the tradition. And regardless, I feel that is very important. However, there is always that limit that you veer off for a bit of a playful touch. This is the way to adopt new elements into classics, to reach as many people as possible. It inspires me to see how important he feels that is.
Exactly. We have embarked on the globalization era.
You're right.
Will you use a variety of instruments?
Yes.
Well, this time you feature Tongan, Latin, and African musicians. Where did you meet those musicians?
Well, I saw them and was attracted to them and asked them to play with me.
So you were scouting them?
Yes, I was.
I see.
Though they are my rivals with different instruments from mine, they are friends who I want to grow with.
I see.
It's so interesting. By touching Western instruments, I finally realized the good points of Japanese instruments.
Great.
And at the same time, by knowing the good points of other instruments, I see the bad points of Japanese instruments. For instance, I came to the United States from Japan, and I realized that I like it here. But the longer I stay here, the more I miss Japanese food. Then I realized how beautiful Japan is, or how terrible Japan is. And I think it can be applied to instruments. So to keep my Japanese identity and to protect Japanese tradition, I would like to expand my performances to various directions by instrument.
Taiko is a type of drumming style that originated in Japan and appeared in the music of the imperial court, on battlefield grounds, and in religious ceremonies. But it wasn't until much later that taiko was made popular by drummers like Eitetsu Hayashi. We sat down with the leader of Hakata Kinjishi Taiko, Jyuraku Chikushi, to discuss the history of taiko drums and the transformation of this ancient instrument that is now being melded with jazz, rock, and other genres.
So tell me about the basic history of taiko drums.
まあどこでもあるもの
Okay.
なんですね。でどういうふうにこの日本に入ってきたかはちょっと定かで
You
は
can
ない
find
ぐら
them
い古い
anywhere
もの
in
なんです。
Japan.
で
Yes.
宗教であったり。
However, they came to Japan.
昔ですとこう
It was a very long time ago.
こっちで
It was not
消防士
only a religious medium, but during the Edo period, firefighters used them to make them aware of
あ
fires.
とやっぱりその神聖的
Also,
なその
there were spiritual uses for worshiping
使う
gods.
楽器として
In
伝わ
recent
っているんで
years,
す。
the rhythm from
近
taiko drums
年は
has
その
been used
この
for
太鼓を
making
使って
music and
そのリズ
performing.
ムを出すことによって
It's been that way
その
for about 10 years
音
now.
楽にしたり
Oh,
パフ
so
ォーマンスに
recently.
したりっていうそうですね。
Yes.
で10年ぐら
In
い
the
の
past 10 years,
この近年で
Japanese drum
その和太
performances
鼓のパフォーマ
and
ンスだったり
making music with
こ
them
の音楽
have
になったり
become a
っていうふ
genre
うに
in
その
themselves
和太鼓の
around the world.
こうジャンルっていうんですかね。まあ世界になってきましたね。
So what originally started this boom?
ですね、オンデコザっていう和太鼓チーム
Well,
ですね。
let's see.
確か
The
ニューヨークだったと
Ondekoza
思うんですけど、
Taiko team
フル
in
マ
New
ラソン
York,
を
I think
42.195
they ran a full
そ
marathon
の後
of
に太鼓の演奏をしたっていう
42.195
ので、多
and
分
after
ア
that,
メリカでも
they started playing
和
drums.
太鼓っていうのが
Perhaps that's how it started in America.
演奏する人た
Really?
ち
The
が
ondekoza?
マラソンを走って、
They ran the
はは
marathon,
言いながらその
caught their
後
breath,
太鼓を
and then
叩くってい
started a
う
drumming
パフォー
performance.
マンスをして
Huh,
るんで
about
すよ。
10 years ago, huh?
Yes,
そうですね、約10
10
年ぐら
years
い
ago,
前だ
I
ったと
think.
思いますね。
Maybe a little
もうちょっと
before.
前かもしれないですね。で
They
やっぱり
ran
その
marathons
全米
all
中
through
を
the US.
マラソンで走っ
To
て
play drums, you could
で
say,
太鼓で演奏
so
をしてい
that's
くっていう
really how it started.
だからその和太鼓の
It's
実はこ
booming in Japan
の
too.
今ブームになってる
The
日本
spark
でもブー
was
ムなんで
really
すけど
started in
火をつ
America
けた
though.
のは実はアメリカだったりす
So
る
a
んですよ。
reverse imported version.
そうです。アメリ
Yes,
カですごい太鼓
There
を
were
叩く
some
人
great
たちはって
taiko
いうの
drummers
があ
in
って
America,
アメリカで受けてる
and
太
then
鼓
they
があるよ
came back
っていう
to
ので
Japan.
日本にそれが帰ってきたんですね。
I see. So the taiko drums drew attention.
唯一のその
Yeah,
そう
they
いう
did.
場面でしたね。
They were really
でその
unique.
後にやっぱりいろんなチームが出て、
After
でその
that,
中で
lots of
そ
teams
の
we
中心
formed,
選手だった
mostly from runners
奏者だっ
like
た
Eitetsu
林英
Hayashi,
哲さんという方がやはり
or
僕み
people
たい
like
に
me
その
who use
太鼓
taiko
を
like a
叩くドラ
drum
ムセットの
set
ように組んだり
and
いろん
make
な音楽
various
との
kinds of
フュ
fusion
ージョンをやることに
music.
よって
And
そ
of
の
course,
一
some have been
奏者
recognized as
ミュー
solo
ジシャンとし
artists.
て認められる
Taiko drums, also called fat drum, appear in many shapes and sizes. Taiko drums are mostly stick percussion instruments with heads on both sides of the drum body and a sealed cavity like the one you see here. Bachi, or wooden sticks, are used to play taiko drums. In this next segment, Jyuraku talks about the different types of taiko drums, as well as demonstrates their unique sounds.
So you were influenced by other drums too? Went crazy about them?
そうですね。
Oh, yeah.
こういう風に音
The
楽を
thing
しよ
that
うと思
made
った
me
きっ
want
か
to
けは
make
実は
this
僕
kind
も
of
アメリカ
music
なんです。
was
そ
also
の
in
ニ
the
ューヨー
States.
クに他
When
の
I
仕
came
事
to
で
New
来てる
York
時に
for some
やっ
other
ぱり
work,
ブルーノート
I
だった
saw
り
jazz
そ
at the
のジャ
Blue
ズを
Note.
見るわけ
Ah,
です
so you liked it.
そうもう大好きなんですよ。
Ah,
そのジャ
yeah.
ズを見た時
I
に
really liked it.
こう
When I
楽器と
listened
楽
to
器が
jazz,
こう
the
会話をす
instruments
るよう
were
に
conversing with
や
my
っぱり
ears.
こう僕
And
の
here,
耳と
It came
この
and hit my
ね
heart.
心臓にこうどんどん来るわけですよ。でそれをその見た時にかっこいいと。
I thought it was
で
so
も
cool,
僕は
but I don't
ジ
know
ャズを
about
する
jazz,
そ
and
の
it's
知
not in
識
my
と
blood.
その
Of course,
血が
I'm
な
not
いわけ
American.
ですよね。やっぱりアメリカ人ではないので。
So it was then that I thought I
日本
wanted to
人
make
の
a
血として
conversation with a
楽器を
Japanese
使って会
instrument
話ができるもの
as a
で
person
あ
of
った
Japanese
り
blood
その日本
to
の
make
サウ
that
ンドをこうも
Japanese
っと
sound that
アメリ
Americans
カの
will
人にも
want to
聞いて
hear.
ほしいなって
Oh,
思った
yes, I
きっかけだ
see.
ったんです。
So
だから
how
いろんな楽器
exactly
を
are the taiko
その
drums
やっ
made?
ぱりセッションで合わせてこういうことができるんだよっていうのをですね見てもらいたかったというのもありますね。はい。
じゃあ具体的に太鼓の作りを無視できれば。
これが一番大事なんで
That's
す。
the most
はい
important.
これは結局動画
So you have the
ベ
frame,
ースですね。
and here
でこ
the
こで
bass.
叩くと
And
ころがあ
here's
るん
where
で
you
すけ
hit
ど
it.
Yes?
僕の楽器
In
の
my
場
case,
合は
I perform with a
オ
pianist
ーケ
as
ストラと
well
やった
as
り
with an
やっぱり
orchestra.
ピアノと
So
セッ
I've
ションしたり
become
する
able
の
to
で
tune it.
チューニングが
Ah,
できるよう
so
に
if there's a particular need, you can do it.
独自で注文して
Right.
そうですね。
I can
これは
easily
しやすいように
fulfill a
僕の場合は
particular
独自で注文
request.
してます。でこれ
This
は
one's from
東北地方
in the
日本
north
の
of Japan.
北の方にあるところにある太鼓の種類なんです。でこれは
So
こう
if I
叩く
do
と
a regular hit
実
on
は
it
この
like
音だ
this,
ったりするんですけど、
it makes this sound.
こう
If
い
you
う
do
のが
it like
湿
it changes. Do you see?
Yes, I do. It got a little higher.
Exactly. And if you do it a little tighter, you can change it even more. At that time, you can get in tune with an orchestra.
Ah.
The oldest taiko drums in Japan were this shape, a shimedaiko.
Oh, the shimedaiko.
Yeah, this type is of course for kabuki or no, often used in kyogen. It actually uses a chord. In my case, I work with jazz a lot, so I use some iron to make tuning easier. And then you get this kind of high tone.
A high tone, huh?
Yes,
You can hear it often.
that's right. I think it's the most major sound.
There's a kind of familiarity to a Japanese person. So basically, it's made from cowhide.
From cowhide, the sound will change with both big and small taiko drums, depending on where you play. To get a high tone from this shimedaiko, you need a lot of tension and strength, so a thick type is used.
Oh, so it's not how much it's used.
I use a relatively thick part, and in this case, it's pretty thick, from the soft part of the back to make a low tone. So that's why I make it like this.
I see.
A drum shop makes these. I go to them because I really don't know the finite details of it.
Yes, but you at least want to do something like this.
Yes, I want this sound. I want to produce exactly this sound.
During this mother-son duo, pay close attention to the sword used in this top-spinning act. Now that you've heard the diverse sounds taiko drums make, let's talk about the basic rhythms of taiko. Since there are no melodies, rhythm is what drives this music. One of the most common rhythms is isamigoma. This rhythm sounds like a horse's gallop or something you might hear during battle.
So there are, of course, various rhythms for playing the taiko drums. I think there are some combinations, but is there something that you could perhaps easily explain?
Well, it's an ethnic instrument, so there are rhythms unique to Japan.
Okay.
The easiest to understand is the Isami Goma,
Isamigoma.
like when a horse is running.
Ah, yes, yes.
Ta taka ta taka ta taka ta.
Yes.
You do that on the Japanese drum,
I see, I see.
and you get that rhythm.
I see, I see.
This is just an example, but if you replaced it with a Western instrument, it would be an 8-beat pattern.
8-beat.
Yeah, and if you do it fast, it becomes ta taka ta taka ta, and is much faster.
Oh.
When you put it into an 8-beat song, like Mio from today's performance, it's dun 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 dun. And it becomes like that.
Ah, so it's taken from that, huh?
Yeah, so when you want to have a primitive feel, the Japanese drum is used when you want to create an image of a samurai arriving.
Ah, I see. So you think of that and make your songs?
Yes, yes.
I see.
It's one pattern all the way through. For example, with jazz or swing, it's the same as the pattern 8-beat pattern. It's a typical Japanese pattern.
These rhythms create an amazing sound experience. In this next piece titled Mio, listen for the Samigoma rhythm. Playing with tops is an old form of child's play in many countries. In Japan, the birth of this koma art came about in a unique style with the use of a top in a series of tricks. The origin of this top art, said to have come from the Hakata Koma, has a long history of more than 400 years and was first developed in Japan as a magnificent form of entertainment. In this next interview, Syouraku Chikushi talks about the tricks of the trade when it comes to top spinning. However, you will soon find out that there are no tricks involved, only technique.
Well, you trained yourself since you were young. How old were you when you started?
Well, my master is my father.
Yes.
And this is my family business, so that I've been spinning tops since I was born. So my first performance was at the age of 3.
Since you were 3? Wow, wait just a second. So what kind of training did you actually have?
Well, in plain words, in traditional Japanese performing arts, you start by learning how to behave rather than learning the arts itself.
Oh, not by learning spinning tops itself.
At first, we start by doing an apprenticeship, and then we take care of our teachers or masters, which then lead to actually spinning the tops. The next step is to actually learn how to make the spinning tops.
It must take a long time to make these tops.
Right. We create these by tree trimming, drying, and wood turning. Then we produce a proper balance. Finally, we complete it with a lacquer finish. Well, that's the process, and it takes approximately 5 years.
5 years?
Up to 6 years.
It must take such a long time. It takes much for your training.
Definitely.
So, in other words, it has to be at least 5 years?
Yes. So we don't follow a top we already made. But, for example, for this big top, we have to make 10 or 20 tops and select the best one. Even if you make all the tops in this shape, none are guaranteed to be good enough to perform with.
Why is that?
Well, that's because we have good ones and we have bad ones.
Do you ever find that the tree was bad?
Oh, yes.
I see.
Imagine a big tree in terms of diameter. Well, we take our materials from a tree this size, and a big tree has holes inside or stiff parts which calcium has absorbed, and thus becomes way off balance.
You really have to understand the entire process to make it.
That's right. We have to understand the nature of trees and the environment. We go into the mountains and see how the tree looks, and then we select the trees that we want.
So there isn't just one kind of tree you use?
No.
Wooden trees?
No, this is light materials called hotri, to be used for sheath, while we use Camellia japonica or cherry blossoms for that, as it needs to rotate.
I see.
We use 4 kinds of oak trees. Besides, we use the tree called koyasu, suitable for making traditional Japanese kokeshi dolls.
Yes.
So we use those 4 types. Well, this art has remained to be an art unique to the Japanese performing arts and has a 470-year history.
Oh.
It's a series of acrobatics born by children playing with their tops. A steel axle is put on a wooden stand.
Yes.
A steel axle, like this. We have fighting spinning tops called Hakata spinning tops, which only the bottom axle has started to be made out of steel through children's play. That's when the acrobatics come into play. The acrobatics became prevalent in Hakata in the Kyushu island. And the skilled people established a company to make a run to towns such as Tokyo, Osaka, and Kyoto. There they showed their performances to shogun families, and this style was recognized.
Oh, I get it.
This was made so as not to offend anyone in a hakama, which led to this style.
Oh, it's kind of like a samurai.
Yes.
They use costumes.
That's right, so that they are not offensive. This style has not changed for 470 years.
These upcoming musical numbers focus on this Koma art. Watch Syouraku as she uses large tops, Japanese fans, and strings that will absolutely amaze you.
message you want to send people through your performances?
Well, our music is created only with percussion, and these percussion instruments are all made from trees or from some hide, some animal hide. So something has been sacrificed so that we can perform. We are very appreciative of that, as we can't do anything with only our own ability. But with this, people, not just us, can live. We eat meat from nature and cut down trees to make a single piece of paper. I think these things are sacrificed so that we can lead our wonderful lives.
I see.
That's why we put together these easy-to-understand instruments to affect children and adults and make them feel something. I want people to feel the vibrations through their skin and feel these instruments that don't have a melody. So we want people to feel something in their skin, the vibration. So I feel happy when somebody can feel the message of the vibrations from the taiko in their skin.
Yeah, I think you can communicate with them.
Though I don't expect that people have heard it, and there is no melody, I think it is an instrument that allows one to express oneself easily.
Indeed, even without melody, without words, and truly with just the vibrations.
It's simple. I think it's good. That's why it's important and fosters human relations. I think this thing helps children and other people meet each other, and it makes me happy.
Oh, that's such a good message. Thank you very much.
We've run out of time. I would like to thank Hakata Kinjishi Taiko and Hakata Koma for participating in today's program. I would also like to thank the students in the audience for being with us, and to the viewing audience from across the country for tuning into the program. As we close today's program, we would like to end with Shishi, which Jyuraku has adapted from the lion dance using the background drum rhythms while incorporating his own distinct style. Thanks for being with us.
Meet the artists after the show. You and your students can ask questions of the artists after each broadcast by emailing us at kcperfarts@aol.com. Don't forget to visit us online. There you'll find dozens of archived programs from previous seasons that feature artists such as members of the National Symphony Orchestra, Ballet Hispanico, the Billy Taylor Trio, lyricist Stephen Schwartz, cast members from Maine, and many more. Prepare for each program by downloading the study guide. Each guide includes background information about the artists, instructional activities, and additional resources to use in the classroom. The Kennedy Center Performing Arts Series, bringing the arts to your classroom.